All right, so now I know when I mentioned that last one on the page IO latch SH for shared, now we're going to talk about an exclusive lock. And here we're going to look at LCK underscore M underscore X, where the X implies that's exclusive. And the M implies that there's data being modified, and the lock, it's trying to get a lock in order to modify data. Now, this occurs when a process waits for a lock to modify data, blocking others. Now, imagine, Shannon, if you're trying to update a row in a table, and I'm trying to update that row in the table at exactly the same time. And then to make it worse, we've got 75 other people out there trying to update that same row in the table, or even the same table, close to it, depending on how the locking occurs there. And what's going to happen is the first person in is going to get their exclusive lock, and let's say that's you updating the table. And then I'm going to try and update it, and I'm going to be stuck waiting, trying to get my exclusive lock to change that table until you're done doing your update. Now, how long is that lock held? Well, it's held for the duration of a transaction. So if you're in a transaction that's looping and maybe running for 5 minutes, that's a bad move to begin with. But if you were, you're going to hold that lock until the transaction is rolled back or committed at the end. So really, the LCK underscore M underscore X is real common, and it usually indicates blocking issues, often from long-running transactions. Now, one of the solutions around this is to figure out how do you optimize your transactions, and how do you make those transactions smaller? How do you make them faster? Sometimes it's as simple as adding an index in order to speed up the finding of the data that's being changed. Sometimes it's way more complex than that. One of the things with SQL Server you can look at is read committed snapshot isolation level. Now, we've worked with a lot of clients recently who've had a lot of blocking on LCK underscore M underscore X or IX. And in those cases, we moved a couple of them to read committed snapshot isolation level. And what that does is it keeps a version store in tempdb, and it makes it so that people changing the database will be blocking each other, but people reading the database will not be blocked by any of those blocks that way.
This one's kind of funny because we had just talked about, Steve, that, both of us needed to renew our licenses, and this wait type sounds a lot like the line at the DMV where everybody's just kind of waiting for one person.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that, I don't know what it's like in other states, but in Washington State, the Department of Motor Vehicles licensing is not very well known for getting things done quickly. And yeah, the wait type there would just simply be slow people. But that's a tough one, because if with the locking on doing updates, well, depending on your environment, you may need to be doing a lot of updates, and there's a lot of different ways that you can deal with this one, but it's usually pretty good performance tuning expedition into dealing with this wait type.